Okay, I'd like to call the June meeting of Property and Rec Committee to order. Was the meeting properly noticed?
Yes, it was.
Okay, public participation as we come to it. Roll call, let it show all members are present. Need a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Mike, seconded by Rocky. All those in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Approve the minutes of May 8th. Motion by Mike. Second by Rocky. All those in favor, say aye. Aye, motion carries unanimous. Any correspondence?
I have none.
Project status report, Kyle.
Yep, the departments should have gone through and updated any of the projects on here. Are there any questions on specific projects?
Anybody have any questions for Kyle? Okay, seeing none, move on. Discuss and or act on vehicle purchase. That would be for the parks, I take it.
Mr. Chair? Yep, it's gonna be for parks and maintenance. We have Equinox for maintenance, a 2,500 for maintenance, then a 2,500 for parks and a 3,500 for parks as well. So we just got an email from AF Motors a couple weeks ago that ordering was opening up for their vehicles. We had until the end of May to even put an order in. We got the pricing from AF Motors. We didn't have time to get pricing from other vendors at this point because of the unprecedented circumstances that are happening right now with all the vehicles. We're about 23 vehicles behind countywide for what we had scheduled for replacements. So we got quotes just from AF Motors right now. For these quotes, the Equinox is $26,805.80. And that's the one that's going to be for maintenance. It's going to replace 2009 Ford Escape. That's what it's going to replace. And that's the one that they use to go clean the outlying facilities, community center, highway, solid waste, and out there. There was going to be remote start floor liners and power seat on it, which would bring the total to $27,855.80. And then the other one for maintenance was a Chevy Silverado 2500 gas. That was quoted at $45,754.80. Parks also had a Chevy Silverado 2500. Theirs was slightly different model. It was a longer wheelbase. So theirs was quoted at $48,026. And then the Chevy Silverado 3500 for the parks. And that's just the chassis only. They're going to get a dump box on it, I believe, right? And that was quoted at $44,375.04.
Okay, now these were all in the budget, weren't they, Kyle?
Correct.
Okay, and Parks Department ordered these two vehicles once before, right? Are these the same ones that we never received the last time?
No, the one that we ordered a month ago was the one that should have been ordered last year. Here.
The two that are being ordered currently now or asked to be ordered now are what is in this year's budget. The truck that we had proposed about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, that's being built currently is one from the previous year's budget that did not get ordered. If that answers your question, sir.
Okay, what happened? Didn't we order two trucks about 2 years ago? For Parks Department with maybe at least 2 years ago.
Around that time, we also got a truck for maintenance
2019.
No, it was after COVID because we weren't able to get those trucks that the Parks Department ordered.
That I believe would be the one that's basically coming, we're due to be delivered within the next week or so.
Okay,
Is
and then,
is the one I believe was maintenance also supposed to get one at that time or no? Yeah, and you have one coming also besides, yes, yeah. So
and
that would
then
be the
these
two
are
that we-
two extra ones.
Yeah.
Okay, and the money was budgeted for this? Okay, is it the same for you then? It is, you have one coming, Bill, and then this is another extra one? Okay, all right, now I got it straight in my head. Okay, now it's discussion. Okay, yeah, need a motion to approve.
I'm just one question on this, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Are we being compensated for the vehicle this is replacing? Is there any kind of trade-in value?
Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep, we're gonna auction them on Wisconsin surplus.
Okay, let's get a motion on the floor and then we'll open it up for discussion. Do I have a second? Second by Mike. Okay, now we'll open that up for discussion. Bill?
Mr. Chair, don't you need two bids?
What is the rule on that? It's under X amount of dollars.
Mr. Chair, yes, we do typically get two bids on vehicles and with these, because of the short turnaround time on having to get anything over to AF Motors and then just the unprecedented times that we're in right now. It's very unique circumstances that we're in with the vehicles. I mean, we've had with Health and Human Services, we've had vehicles approved 2-3 times now at this point, and we have not been able to fulfill the orders. So yeah, typically we do try to get two bids for the vehicles, but we're not able to for these ones.
Yeah, I'm only too well aware of what it's like to try and buy a new vehicle right now. They're almost impossible to find. Bill?
I just wanted to say that on the two vehicles we have coming right now, Kyle was able to get two different prices on those, and AF Motors was significantly cheaper than the other government fleet price that he had gotten from a different dealer.
Okay. Any other questions? Josh?
I was just, Mr. Chair, I was just curious, we had that light truck that we came through this committee a month or two ago in the last meetings. Just wondering why this wasn't presented at the same time, if there's such a, backlog, why?
If I may, they wouldn't allow us to even put government orders in for the 2500s or 3500 vehicles at that time. We could only put orders in for the 1500s. It's just a weird situation with government pricing for fleet vehicles right now.
Did that? Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Bill, I didn't hear your,
Nay.
okay, okay,
Gozdowski for a nay as well.
all right. Motion carries 3 yes, 2 no. Josh and Bill no. Okay, treasurer's report, okay?
Hello, everybody. I sent out our last day of redemption per the statute was May 25th. And I am totally excited. I'm not gonna lie. We are down to 16 that at this point remained unpaid. We do have one that did contact us. They're doing their probate, and as soon as that's finished, we will allow that one to finalize through the court, which our court date is July 20th. This is really fantastic for Adams County. This is beyond what I would ever thought of 5 years ago when we were having 50 to 60. So this is absolutely terrific. So next month, I'll set up like a pre-calendar so you can kind of see what the next step will be, and if you're ready, we'll set up a calendar that after the July court date, when we'll discuss at the July meeting how you want to proceed, setting it up to go look at them or getting the minimum bids, and when we want to hold the bid opening auction.
Questions, Josh?
Mr. Chair, the question is for Janie. Yeah, so I share your excitement in being able to redeem a lot of these. Can you tell us about any extra measures or anything that you've done to reach out to some of these and bring them into this
Similar to
redemption?
the same things that we've always done that we've discussed before. I sent an extra reminder notice, which I am not mandated to do, to remind them that the last date was May 25th. And right after that, 12 of them were paid. So that does make a difference,
Yeah.
helping out to remind them that they didn't forget, which some of them did call and say, thank you. Like I said, this is just crazy for Adams County. I know you're concerned and people are having trouble paying bills, but right now COVID has not overall hurt Adams County at all. We are at the last 5 years have been the best. Each year it got better and better and better than we've had for the last 30 years. It's really been good. I don't know why, but I'll take it.
Mhm. Were you able to reach out by phone call at all with some of these that are still?
Not have contact numbers for phones or whatever. We statutorily, the last known address, we do try when the mail comes back, doesn't always work. You can't find them, or there's so many people with the same name, you don't guesswork. We've been yelled at many times, but this is not me, quit sending it to me. So it can go both ways on that.
Mhm,
But we do the best we can.
mhm.
We really do go over and
There's
over.
no way you can reach out to them via phone or get their phone numbers to just put out one more attempt?
If you ever looked up people online, most phone lines, we have tried phone numbers
Mhm.
in the past, but they're 90% of them at the time are disconnected. They
Yeah.
no longer in service. Cell phone is the usage, and those aren't out there, and those get changed quite often.
I just like to be sure that we're exhausting every attempt possible to bring them into redemption or give them an
Yeah.
opportunity, so.
And some of these, I know people are passed away, and there's not a
Yeah.
whole lot you can do about
Right,
that.
right. Well, they do have the, wills in place, I suppose, and,
If they do,
yeah.
that's, again,
Or-
we can't make them do it.
Mhm.
We can tell them if they get a hold of us or if we come across them, but,
Right.
Okay.
All right, appreciate that, Janie. Thank you.
Any other questions for Jenny? Anybody else? Thank you. Okay, let's move on to maintenance report. Bill?
Good afternoon, everybody. I guess just an update on the report on the capital upgrades portion. New digital controls for the LEC, the system's cut over waiting final program. The final program, we were able to get that completed on Friday. There's a couple little bugs still hanging out there, but for 99% of it is complete, up and working good. Real nice addition to the HVAC system over there. The wall out front, I was hoping that I'd be able to tell you the concrete was poured. It is formed up completely now. So, all we're waiting on is a concrete truck to come and, dump it in the hole, and that'll be done until they cap it. So I'm hoping by the next meeting that can be, completed. Also for the next meeting, I do anticipate having us, act on or approve, bids for the new paving of the midway at the fairgrounds, and also for the new roofs on this building. That's all I had. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Anybody else got any questions? You answered mine. I was gonna ask you about the roof, but you answered it, so.
We haven't had any rain lately.
You're right.
Doesn't leak right now.
Any other questions for Bill? Okay, Parks Department, your reports.
Good afternoon, everybody. I guess our big thing has been the Memorial Day weekend, which has arrived and passed. I think both campgrounds were full. Both parks have reached 50% of the projected revenues at this point. We both had our annual campground inspections. I know that I've had some discussion following a report concerning this Wi-Fi project at the parks, and so if we could hold off questioning that, till we have that discussion. That's about all I had to add to the things. Darren, did you have something you wanted to mention on the report?
I really don't have anything that's not included on there, other than we basically, like we said at the beginning, with this fast turnaround from the last meeting, we got a lot done in a short amount of time to make sure that our visitors to Adams County were taken care of the best we could. Unless there's any questions, I have nothing else.
Okay, I have a quick question for you, Doug. Do you oversee the boat launch in that property down at Fawn Lake?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
I do.
we had a Fawn Lake lake meeting the other night, and there's a tree down by the or the fishing pier there. And it's just kind of overhanging the water. And they questioned me as to whether it was okay if they went over and just cut it off at the base and let it drop in the water to use for fish structure. Or if they wanted, if you guys wanted to handle it.
I can look into it. I know my outlying parks guy did mention about cutting up a tree. I'm trying to remember which park it was. Which I don't see here, but
It's
and we
on
could
Fawn
take
Lake.
care of it. As far as actually falling into the lake, that would be a discussion, I guess, with, with Natural Resources Department.
I knew they were doing that on some of the lakes up north where they were dropping trees in it. I think they did that up in the Tri-Lakes. Yep. Drop
mean-
trees in. And this one is, sounds like it's uprooted and the top part of it is hanging over the water.
I could try to get out there and take a look at it. I mean, personally, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Okay, what, if you would, just call me back or email me or something, because they'll cut it.
Yeah.
They just want to know if it's okay.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next thing is the parks Wi-Fi. Now, I was wishing that Corp Council or Cynthia would be here, because I read through this, and I believe according to county board rules, we cannot bring anything back unless there's a major change on it, and I don't see a change.
Mr.
This
Chair,
has already been defeated.
Mr. Chair, this is Marge Edwards.
Okay, Marge, go ahead.
Okay, I've also been checking in on this. I voted against it, but I am in favor of it. And the Corp Council and Cynthia have given me the information that yes, I can bring it back to the county board because I did vote no for it, to reconsider the resolution. That we'd need a second, but not necessarily by someone else that voted against it. I felt like, and you were at the meeting, Jerry, it felt like it was more, there were too many unanswered questions that if somebody from Parks had been at the meeting, they could have answered. And that it could possibly pass.
Okay, Rocky.
I'm under the understanding that the resolution or ordinance, whatever it was only for ARPA funding for the project, not the project itself. We turned down the ARPA funding. We didn't vote on the project.
Correct. My understanding also.
So the project itself wasn't defeated. It never got voted on. It was just the funding for it.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Kyle, did you?
I was just gonna mention, yeah, so this project we did not have budgeted for in 2023. We are gonna end up budgeting for it in 2024, but we wanted to try to make it happen over this summer. So that's what we did with the ARPA dollars. We were trying to use ARPA to cover for this project. So that way we could have it this year.
Well, as one of the people that voted no on it, I mean, there are so many options available for Wi-Fi for these campers, and it don't have to just be cell phones. There's units you can go to Best Buy and buy that you can sit in your window. And they maybe cost $50 to $100, and then they charge you a monthly fee, and they'll get you 5G internet. And you only have to pay for them when you're using them. You don't have to pay for them year round. You can use it, pay for it for the 3 months for the summer. I had priced one of them myself for our apartment in Florida. It would have cost me $25 a month. That's what I say. There's so many options available that I don't understand why we need to spend $75,000 for Wi-Fi. Okay, Josh, as of yet, let's put this to, I'll let it on the floor. Let's get a motion on the floor so we're legal in discussion.
I don't, Mr. Chair, point of order, I don't know if we're legal to put it on the floor. It was defeated at the
No, it
county
wasn't.
board.
Well,
It was
I-
defeated.
Funding was
I
defeated.
will,
Wait a minute.
Bill, I will go with Rocky's statement. The funding through ARPA was defeated. Okay. That was what was defeated. We'll go with that understanding. So the motion for the Wi-Fi itself. Now, this time it wouldn't be for ARPA funding, it would be for the county paying for it. So that makes it different. So I will let this motion come to the floor. If somebody makes the motion.
Make a motion to approve the Wi-Fi installation.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Motion by Rocky, seconded by Mike. Now we'll open it up to discussion. Josh?
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chair, what you were referring to as another option is a mobile hotspot that somebody can gain off their phone or access. That's a way they can get on
That's-
Wi-Fi. So,
That's one of them, but
Yeah.
there is a unit you can buy. It's a little square box. And you can hook that up and you can get, I believe they work through satellite. And you can get 5G Wi-Fi any place you want it.
Right.
And you can go to, the one that I looked at and was gonna buy was at Verizon.
Mr. Chair, this is Marge. Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Marge.
Okay, have the Parks Department looked at any of these other options and done any comparison to see what is available for their campers? They currently do have access to Solaris. My understanding is it's for a maximum of one device and at $1 a day for 30 days.
There.
Oops, go
If
ahead.
I could answer that, like, as you kind of mentioned, Solaris is currently in the park. It's just, it doesn't cover the whole campground or all the campsites. We did talk to Marquette Adams and they would only take care of Castle Rock Park and could not provide service at Beatonwell. Starlink, it seems like kind of a stretch, but we have not physically talked to them. You know, it's kind of a satellite-based internet. Frontier does not have fiber optics, excuse me, it can only offer broadband service, so they can't offer, enough speed or bandwidth to service all of our campsites. And as I said, currently Solaris is in the park, and we can go on to discuss their rates and whether or not they're worth it, but they have a limited access to our customers right now, and they provide the park's offices with free internet service for that. Does that help answer your question, Marge?
That helps answer some of mine, I guess. The feeling I got from the county board meeting was, again, what's this gonna cost the county? And is it worth it to the county?
Well, I believe the figure was approximately $75,000. Was in the packet. Is that pretty close? Go ahead, Darren.
Yeah, if I can go on, I tried to explain that, excuse me, and according to this document that's on the screen, I kind of got two options from them. One would be, that we could collect all the fees and everything else, but they want $75,000 for setup and about $75,000 a year. And even at that, I was like, and with a reported income of about 8,500, I mean, they're not getting rich on this. We're charging $3 a day, $8 for $3 in 3 days and $30 for a whole month. And that's just for a single device access. So an access, and then we would have complete control. And we could either offer it for free or we could do whatever we wanted to with that. But, we figured we'd have to roughly generate $125 a year per campsite to justify that. And rather than increase our prices, we just assume keep it low, and if they don't need it, they don't have to pay for it. And if they want it, they can pay for it. So the second option would be for just the $75,000 setup and let them continue to collect the fees. And in that 75,000, that's mostly for things that we're gonna own and keep forever. That nothing to do with Solaris getting any money for developing. It's just putting up some more utility poles, which those become our property. 12,000 of that is just for us to contract an electrician to run power to those poles. All that remains our property. Close to $20,000 or $18,000 for security cameras. Now, these security cameras will use the network, the Wi-Fi network, to get that signal to our park offices. Currently, both parks offices have limited security cameras that are hardwired, and attached to the office. We physically can't tell what's going on at the beach, the boat launch, some of our storage areas that people are paying to park in for time. So we thought that was a much cheaper option. And like I said, pretty much that $75,000 is for items that we're going to be keeping. It's not Solaris's or anything else. So I guess, was there any questions about those two options from Solaris?
Josh, you got a question?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, my question is for Doug. So I'm concerned about creating a liability for the county here. How can we be sure that this is not going to be a future liability? We understand that these services are always changing, the technology becomes obsolete year to year. So down the road, pricing changes, things change, and now we're stuck with this liability that might be ongoing for years to come. So how can we be sure that this doesn't happen?
Well, things are, excuse me, always changing. First of all, Solaris is the only company that has the infrastructure as in fiber optic line. Now, these other companies do. I mean, I think a couple of other ones are working towards that, but they're not there. As far as what's going to become obsolete, I mean, the gas vehicles we just ordered earlier will someday become obsolete. So, in that first proposal, we talked about $75,000 setup and $75,000 a year. That was going to be requiring a 5-year commitment from us. And then we'd be locked into those fees. That second option, there's no commitment. We could tell them, we could put up these poles for them. They hang their equipment, and they're hanging that equipment on those poles at their cost. That's their equipment. We could turn around the next day and say, get out of here. So I don't know if that helps answer your question.
Somewhat, but there's still, thank you for that, Doug, that there's still unanswered questions, because I heard you say something about we're gonna have control the equipment, but now some of the equipment they're gonna have. So it's just, there's a gray area every which way we look at this. I'm also concerned about this kind of diminishing the experience people have going camping. There's a beach, there's all kinds of things to do with fishing, all the activities, outdoor activities, and they're going to be looking at their Wi-Fi. It's just they have Wi-Fi there. I mean, and then also, I don't know if we're giving the local businesses an opportunity to install this. It's just, there's a lot of gray areas here that I wish we had better answers for, to be honest with you all.
Now, under that option, you would still have the $2,800 a month fee?
So if you look on this report, there's a link to each of the, the two different options. Under option 2, after we install these poles and power poles, there would be no recurring cost to us at all.
Rocky?
So Doug, are you recommending option two?
I would recommend option two. Just because and the discussion that I had with them was that if we wanted to, take on the whole management of the system, we could do that at a later date. I just hate to commit to something that's gonna cost us $75,000 a year, which is option one, and then potentially not make that money. So I would not recommend option one, but I would recommend the option two, which is what we brought to the committee or the work group and the admin finance.
Well, the thing I look at is I voted yes for it in admin and finance. But then after that, I did a little study and stuff, and there's so many options for the individual camper to get Wi-Fi without us having to even be involved. If anybody wants to, I mean, I think you're just gonna have such a few select people that are even gonna want it. And those that do want it, if they wanna be out there and be connected to Wi-Fi for their businesses or whatever, that satellite system that you set in your window for $25 a month cures their problem.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I just kind of wanted to add to that though, with those like what you were talking about, mobile hotspots and stuff like that, those I don't believe work out at our parks because
The phone service won't work at our park. You don't need a phone for the ones that I'm referring to.
for
Verizon sells a unit that don't even have to be connected to a phone.
but it's a wireless hotspot, right? I'm okay.
Yeah, that's why I said, I believe they get their connection through satellite, but I'm not 100% positive.
Yeah, the satellite ones are different then. Okay.
Mr. Chair, this is Marge again.
Okay, Marge, Janie had her hand up first. Let her. go.
Okay,
Okay, my question is, I understand the hotspot and stuff like that, but what about the security cameras? Is this all part of this that we should be discussing also? Is how to do the security? I mean, I know we're getting off on a tangent, or is that two different things?
Okay, go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, if I could answer
Or
that
Doug.
question. So yes, the security cameras would use this network to get, the signal back to our office. And that's a safety issue. It also protects our assets, that we have in the parks. We have no idea what's typically going on at the beach or the boat launches because they're distance to the office. So, we would be using that network at no cost to us. And of that 75,000, like I said, there's a third of that's just for the security camera system.
Do we currently have security cameras at the parks?
I referenced that earlier, but we do have some that are attached to our offices. And those are hardwired, I guess, if you want to call it, to a computer in the offices.
So could we hardwire security cameras out to the boat launch?
That would be difficult just because, the distance.
Okay. Bill?
Mr. Chair. Basically, in this discussion, it was a $75,000 setup fee. Was that just the first bid, or was that the second proposal also? The setup. Number two, I see a $2,800 a month per campground fee in there. And is that in the second proposal?
I'll let Doug answer that.
Yeah, if I could answer that. It's still all part of the first proposal. Basically, both proposals have that $75,000 startup or setup. It's just the second proposal, that's where it stops. And the first proposal, they would be about, that 2,800 you referred to per park per month. That's in that first proposal. And in that one, we could control if we gave away the Wi-Fi or if we could charge per customer like they're doing. But one, I think that would be a lot for us to manage at the parks, and for us to generate that much money to pay for it, I don't want to commit to that.
Okay, and would you go over with me again what the second proposal, why is that different than the first one?
So in the first proposal, we would control the network. We could charge, we could give it for free. In the second proposal, Solaris would continue to collect the fees as it's used, you know,
And what's the cost of that?
and that's right above that, little framework in there. It's $3 a day, $8 for 3 days, or $30 for a month. And in 2022, they only collected $8,500, which doesn't come close to covering the $75,000 it would cost us to manage the system.
So who's gonna pay for the $75,000? And,
The county.
Mr. Chair.
right, so that was, going back to why the county board, it wasn't just because it came through ARPA. It was the fact that the county incurred the cost that, that's what defeated it. That the county was involved with the cost of it. And we still haven't left that situation. Whether it comes out of this committee as approval, it's still gonna go back to the board, and the same question is gonna be asked. The county does not want to pay for the Wi-Fi.
Right, you're right. The same question would be asked.
And there's a lot of good reasons.
I have a suggestion. Kyle said that it's not in the budget for this year, but you're gonna put it in next year, right?
Mr. Chair, that's correct. And if the project is approved to go forward today by this committee, it would have to go to the full county board because we would be using the capital fund, and that would be committed fund balances.
Okay, my suggestion. If we defeat it today, it can't be brought up again till after the next election. So I would suggest that we table it today, and if it gets put in the budget, then after the budget is approved, then it can come back. So we would essentially have to approve it in the budget. Right now, the money's not there.
Mr. Chair.
Jenny had her hand up first.
I understand the concept and everybody is, to me, as I'm listening, is stuck on Wi-Fi for the campers. I'm still looking at the security part of it. And we're still, I think we're still missing both how much it would cost for security, to enhance our security. Insurance companies, I'm sure, would be a little more friendly with us if we had a little more, get rid of some of those. So if that's what I'm still looking on myself, if I'm an outside source.
Speculation though.
I understand, yeah. And that's why I would like, I mean, I would like to see it tabled until after budget. Josh?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to respond to Janie there. You mentioned that device that we can get through our internet or our mobile provider. Have they explored the option with this, with that device and the security system? Why can't we, do that if they're able to get a simple device that might cure their problem with the security situation?
I wish Rich was up here. He could answer a lot of questions. I see Darren shaking his head that, no, those things aren't available.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I believe there's a lot of confusion and what we are suggesting to move forward as the Parks Department is the option 2 of installing the infrastructure for the company to come in and add additional things, but at the same time allowing ourselves to have a better security system and owning and operating all the equipment up into the fact of what they are utilizing to allow campers to purchase internet through them. Which is, I think we're confusing the two issues together. They're completely separate. It's $75,000 is the projected cost to build the infrastructure and put our updated camera system in, period. If we were to go backwards and have to manage it ourselves, which we do not want to do. As a department, we do not want to do that. What we want is to be able to have the system updated, the potential for campers to pay a share to a private entity that we are not being billed for at all whatsoever once we get our camera systems in and are getting our internet at the office. And and to work through that. It's not about what we're going to, we will have then in-house the infrastructure for potential of a different company that may or may not come by at one time to get a better deal and put their stuff in to let the campers get. Or the patrons or the users of the county. This is more of a benefit to the county when you look at it as the improvements to our security, potential security system, the improvements for some internet. There are customers that call and ask if we have internet. I don't know if any of you guys have been to Petenwell Park, but you can't hardly get out on a telephone, let alone in a busy time, let alone get landlines don't even want to work when it's busy up there. We're kind of in a dead spot. There is nothing available other than if they're using, or patrons are using the fiber optic line that is buried in the ground to our office that currently is being used by customers already and ourselves.
I'm gonna ask a quick question of Kyle before you, Josh, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
If we pass this here, Kyle, it has to go to county board. But the money is not in the budget, so don't that have to be a 2/3 vote to pass it at county board?
Correct. Mr. Chair.
Now, go ahead, Kyle, or Josh, you had a question?
Yeah, it was kind of answered there, but yeah, I'm still not getting a lot of good answers, but there's a question we had here. I'll come back to, I'm gonna reword this a little bit.
Bill?
Mr. Chair, we're going back to the same problem we had at county board. Not enough information, not enough quotes. There should be a quote from Starlink. We're gonna go back, if it goes back to county board, you've got it's more confusing today. You don't know how much you're gonna justify, how much money the county is actually gonna spend on this. We know $75,000 up front, and we also know $2,800 a month per campground, even in the winter when there's nobody else around.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Darren.
if we choose to install this ourselves with option 2, there is no $2,800 a month. That is only if we choose to take that ourselves and manage the system. We do not want to manage the system. The top portion, the number 1 option is not what we want at all. There is no extra charge if we were to go with option 2.
Okay, so option 2, does the camper still, is he required to go to the office and tell him he has a problem, and then the office is supposed to work it out? And then if he can't work it out, they call Solaris. Is that under option 2?
That is under option 2. There is no, we do not, they don't come to the office. They deal with the private provider outside. We have nothing to do with that then. That is their prerogative. If they want the internet, they follow through with the procedures through Solaris. They do not come and talk to us at the office at all.
Doug had his hand up.
I mean, excuse me, I apologize if I provided almost too much information here, but if you look at from 2 below, essentially we're asking for $25,000 to put up some utility poles and run electricity to them and buy some cameras. So we could say that's what we want, and we're not even going to talk about whether or not how Solaris is involved in that. That's what we want to spend the money on. We want to put up poles, run some electric to it, and buy some security cameras. If that makes it, that's as simple as I can explain it. And the camera system is fairly reasonable. I believe Solid Waste put out some. What did their security system cost?
40,000.
Okay, so I don't know if we can do that. The agenda calls for a quote for $75,000 and now we're talking about $25,000.
you still need all of this to make it happen.
Yeah, you're still,
But if 40,000 for solid waste, and you're talking 75,000 for two separate entities, right along with solid waste. and some security. If you want to look at that.
Josh,
Mr. Chair, my question, we've had people coming to go camping without Wi-Fi for years. And now basically I'm getting from this, people don't want to come and camp if they don't have Wi-Fi. Are you having a problem filling these spaces, these campsites? Are they not being filled? Is this a problem?
I
Yeah.
mean, times are changing too. I mean, people didn't camp in campers either, huh? But campers do ask for that service. It's that, you know, they used to come and say, do you have Wi-Fi? Now they say, what is the Wi-Fi password? I mean, it's almost an expected amenity nowadays. I don't know if you can bring up the map of our current parks. I have some campers, even if we have open sites, won't take certain sites because the current network does not cover the whole park. So in these maps, and there's one for, this is Castle Rock, and there's one for Peatwell. The ones that have the red circles are the current locations, and then the other ones, which are pure yellow, are the ones, you know, the increased. You know, we'll have almost 100% coverage then on our campsites. Right now, we probably service about a third of our campsites.
if I want to run this by you two guys, Darren and Doug, you're the two involved. If I make the motion to table this till after budget, then it be passed at county board with a 50-50 vote.
There's the 2/3.
If we pass it here today and it goes to county board, it'll have to have a 2/3 vote.
Corp Counsel and Kyle probably may have more information than I do, but I was asked to put together this document explaining a little bit more, and I apologize. I should have been at the county board that night to explain things more. But it was my understanding that if we could bring somebody who said no at that vote, brought it back, then it could be voted on as far as the ARPA money again. That was a discussion I was Cynthia and Kyle and council. I
That's information we'd have to get from Jeff.
So perhaps it would be a better idea right now just to table it until someone makes that,
If,
you know, motion or whatever.
if we don't get a direct answer to that right now, I'll make a motion to table it till next month anyway. Josh?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to comment on Doug's comment there. Sometimes people don't really look for Wi-Fi. They might actually come to a park because they don't have Wi-Fi. We're just going to get a different clientele. I think there's plenty of customers out there, plenty of people that don't really necessarily need Wi-Fi to come and camp. And I think we'll fill the campsites all the same.
Well, we're somewhat beyond that. We're at security cameras and whatnot, so. Let's see if we can get an answer from Jeff about that ARPA.
Mr. Chair, in the meantime, what is our occupancy of the two parks? If I may ask.
I'm not sure as far as if you're talking about a particular weekend. I mean, holiday weekends were full every weekend, so.
Are most of your campers seasonal? No.
Well, we've kind of changed or we're moving towards an equal amount. So we would have, you know, a third of the campground is available for short-term camping, a third seasonal, and a third yearly.
Seasonal would just be by the month and then
Well, they have to be out at the end of the season and not allowed to keep it year round.
but if they keep it year round, they can do that and they pay just a fee for year round camping.
Yes.
I think we should vote. Move him over there. Chair. While we're waiting. Another item in there is, most problems would be, the Solaris would not provide act of God or flood or et cetera coverage. And wouldn't most problems that would occur in a system like that be an act of God? Like a storm or flood or wind? Maybe somebody could answer that while we're waiting. And who would incur the expense in that case?
Okay, Jeff.
All
On,
right.
on this Wi-Fi issue, we have a motion on the floor to pass it. And that would be a county board expense, because of New Ocean. Now we're talking about bringing it back to ARPA, which was defeated before. So can we do that?
Okay, so basically what's been approved here right now is what was presented to the county board, except that the county will pay it and will not come out of ARPA funds, correct?
Basically, which makes it. You can't bring an issue back that's been voted down before, so that makes it different because
makes
of
it
who's funding it.
Correct. Okay. So now you want to bring this back to ARPA.
We're not sure what we
Committee.
want to do.
Right, we have a problem because. And I guess I'll let Kyle jump in there after I do, but if we. Right now, if we pass this here, it has to go to county board. Now we're talking about a budget change, so it has to be a 2/3 vote at county board.
Correct.
Yep, and then I believe Supervisor Edwards had indicated that she was planning to bring the ARPA funding of this project back to the county board, as she was one of the board members who voted against it.
And she is online.
And that can be done.
Even though it was defeated?
Yes, because it's being brought back by somebody who was on the, I guess, call it the winning side. So if Supervisor Edwards is bringing back, because I believe she originally voted against it, so it can be brought back. I actually, I've got a form here. I looked this up to find out the way that it's done. So if it's going to be brought back to the county board, the form of the motion should be, which would come from Supervisor Edwards, is I move to reconsider the vote on the resolution relating to the use of ARPA funds for the expanding publicly accessible wireless services at Pentonwell and Castle Rock Parks. And I voted against the resolution. Okay, because they got to get on the record that she was one that had voted against it. It then would require a second, and then there would be a debate on that.
Does the second also have to be a no vote?
No, second can be anyone else.
Now, that's not on today's agenda to bring it back to ARPA, so we'd have to table that and put it on next month's agenda, right? Or defeat the current motion.
County board would do it.
Right, county board, that would have to be brought back at the next meeting. If Supervisor Edwards wants to do that, that has to be brought back at the next meeting. Because in order for a reconsideration to take place, it has to occur at the original meeting or the next meeting date, so.
Point of order. Is Representative Edwards allowed to be part of this committee? Well, she voiced her concern that she was gonna vote for it.
Not here.
Yeah,
County board.
so if I understand Corp Council correctly, we would actually defeat the motion that Rocky brought up to pay for, no?
You would just vote on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can vote on yours, and and you can have your motion go back to ARPA. That's a completely separate thing than what's going to happen at the county board meeting if Supervisor Edwards wants to reconsider the previous motion.
So Supervisor Edwards is acting as a citizen?
Yes,
For this meeting, yes. But at the county board,
Right.
does it have to go back to ARPA committee?
Well, we have a motion on the table.
Right, we do have a motion on the table, and I'm not calling the vote until I understand exactly what's going on.
no, this does not have to go back to the ARPA committee. if and again, for clarity's sake, Supervisor Edwards wants to reconsider the no vote on the original resolution. That she does separately. You guys do not have to worry anything at all about that. If you are looking to pass your motion or your resolution that you still want to go ahead with the Wi-Fi, but that the county pays for it, that's completely separate. You can do that separately.
Okay,
I mean, it might be moot if the reconsideration comes through and then the county board says, okay, we're going to do it, then the county board won't have to hear your motion or your resolution.
okay, Darren, you had your hand up.
Mr. Chair, a question that I have is if this, what's being presented today of option 2 as the project to this committee, if this is defeated, then are we at the point where, because it was defeated at this committee, are we done and for the next cycle, or does that only count at the board level where once it's brought up and can't be brought back till a different election cycle?
Well,
Are you understanding my question? I don't think I'm saying it the right way, but if we follow through with the vote and this is defeated with whatever option, potentially with what's on the floor in this meeting right now, is that over and done and we can't do anything with it?
The way I understand it, and I'll let Jeff correct me if I'm wrong, is if we defeat the motion that's on the floor, that Supervisor Edwards can still bring it back as ARPA funding at the next county board level. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, Supervisor Edwards can bring it back, the reconsideration, no matter what you do on this one, whether you had.
I guess that
approve it or
would be
not.
my question is if this is defeated then, and it is potentially defeated again, we would have to wait a whole board cycle again to bring it back for any additional asking for fundings. That's why I'm wondering if it would not be in our best interest as a department to table this at this time until we find out what happens with the next cycle, the next round of meetings and find out from there.
Yeah, what you're saying would be wise to do, table this to find out if the reconsideration passes or not.
I'll make a motion to table.
I'll second it.
They already had a motion.
We
on
have
the
a
floor.
motion on the
Well-
floor. And I'm motioning to table.
You can
Yeah,
motion to table
you can motion to table.
without voting on the previous, I believe. Am I right?
You are right.
Before we motion, can I, one more?
Well, we have a motion in a second. You can comment.
Okay. Alright. So. Link here, but why wasn't this presented in this committee in this form originally to begin with, coming out of the general budget?
Pardon, what was your question?
Why didn't this come through this committee originally in this form coming out of the general budget?
Because it was not put in this year's budget cycle. Kyle's nodding his head. I guess I had that correct.
And then the alternative was to request ARPA funding of the project.
Right. So we have a
Thank you.
table on the floor, or a motion on the floor to table until after we see what happens with the, whether it comes back as ARPA. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, it passes 3-2. Now I'm so confused. I gotta go for a haircut. I don't remember where. Okay, any items for next agenda?
You said roof bid and fairgrounds bid, right, Bill?
Okay, next meeting date should be July 10th. Correct? we have no other business before the committee, I declare us adjourned. Thanks, Jeff.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
No problem.